Hello and welcome to SaltWire today for Monday, January 9th. I'm your host, Kate Walker. There is sadness, outrage, and concern over a woman in Cumberland County who is the latest victim of Nova Scotia's healthcare crisis. Allison Holthoff was a wife, mother of three, and deputy chief of the Tidnish Bridge Volunteer Fire Department. She waited 7 hours to see a doctor while in extreme pain at the Cumberland Regional Health Centre on New Year's Eve before she died there. A vigil was held at the fire department to remember her. Today, Premier Houston was questioned about the ailing healthcare system and the case of Allison Holthoff.
The depth of sadness is so great for the community and for the province. I mean, that's our main focus right now, understanding, getting the answers to the investigation and trying to support the community as best we can.
Holthoff woke up with indigestion on December 31st and eventually was too uncomfortable to stand. She was a celiac, had her gallbladder removed 2 years ago, sometimes suffered from migraines, and was experiencing pain in her hip and through her body since a fall off her horse. After her husband brought her to the ER on New Year's Eve, her condition began to deteriorate, waiting hours for care while she lay on the ground with other patients demanding attention for her. She waited 7 hours for a doctor and eventually had to be resuscitated 3 times before she died. It's still not exactly clear what was going on in her body. Sheldon McLeod will have more from NDP leader Claudia Chender as well as the health minister on this story coming up on Thinking Out Loud. The emergence of a highly contagious COVID-19 subvariant is a stark reminder that the pandemic is not over. 2 cases of the XBB 1.5 variant, which has been nicknamed Kraken, have been confirmed in Nova Scotia. The World Health Organization said recently that it's the most transmissible COVID-19 subvariant detected to date. Infectious disease expert Dr. Lisa Barrett says the new variant shouldn't spark panic, but confirms we must continue to closely monitor the virus.
It also has an immune change. It has a mutation that makes it slightly less visible, probably, to your immune system. And therefore, there's the opportunity that either your previous protection from another infection or from vaccine might be reduced a bit. But overall, right now, it's important to note that the disease it causes doesn't look more severe for healthy people. And also, it's important to note that vaccines and previous infection do probably provide some protection from the very severe disease that can be found with any COVID, particularly if you're ill.
Barrett says Kraken has spiked from 1% of positive tests to about 40% in the United States over a short period. So likely it will become the prevalent COVID variant in Canada and elsewhere. A former Dalhousie University medical student's murder trial got underway this morning in Nova Scotia Supreme Court with jury selection and opening instructions from the judge. 30-year-old William Michael Sandison is charged with first-degree murder in the 2015 disappearance of fellow Dalhousie student Taylor Sampson. 22-year-old Sampson, a physics student, has not been seen since the night of August 15, 2015, when he allegedly went to Sandison's apartment on Henry Street in Halifax. His remains have not been found. The jury trial is set for 27 days at the Mellor Avenue Courthouse in Dartmouth. 14 people, 8 men and 6 women, were selected for the jury today after Sandison entered a not guilty plea. Crown attorneys will make their opening statement tomorrow and then begin calling witnesses. A 21-year-old man has been charged in a Halifax home invasion and homicide. On January 4th, police were called to a residence in the 400 block of Herring Cove Road. They found a man who had been shot and killed at the scene. In an update from police today, it says the investigation determined that at least 3 individuals, at least one of whom had a firearm, were part of a home invasion at the residence. A fight happened with the occupants of the home, resulting in the death of one of the individuals invading the home. The other home invasion suspects, who were dressed in dark clothing, fled the area in a vehicle. The Nova Scotia Medical Examiner Service conducted an autopsy and ruled the death a homicide. They also revealed the victim as a 33-year-old man. Officers arrested 4 people at the scene. 3 of the 4 were later released without charges. A 21-year-old man is scheduled to appear in Halifax Provincial Court at a later date to face charges of carrying a concealed weapon, illegal possession of a firearm, and possession of a weapon dangerous to the public. Criminal charges are not being considered at this time in relation to the death. A man found sleeping rough in Point Pleasant Park is one of many who has found themselves in the midst of the city's homelessness crisis. 30-year-old Cale has been sleeping in this tent for more than a week now. After he was discharged from hospital, he made his way to the park to sleep in the woods. He can't walk and his feet are frostbitten.
I've been camping many times before, but this is the time where I'm homeless.
Even with a social assistance check, it's not enough to afford rent. He says it's challenging to sleep in shelters with others when they're not full, especially with a disability. He hopes to get a new sleeping bag and more food in order to try and brave the cold this winter. A proper roof over his head is the goal, but with the housing crisis, it's proving to be a challenge for Cale and more than 100 others who are unhoused in HRM. People gathered in Yarmouth over the weekend to remember 2 young men. Colton Cook was murdered in September of 2020, and Zach Lefebvre went missing on January 1st, 2021, and has never been found. Their families are still seeking answers and justice on their behalf. SaltWire's Tina Camo has the details.
Family, friends, and other supporters gathered in Frost Park in Yarmouth on January 8th to remember 2 young men and to show support to their families who have been forever bonded in tragedy. Colton Cook was murdered in September 2020 at the age of 26. Zach Lefebvre went missing early January 1st, 2021, a couple of days before he would have turned 21.
I know I speak on behalf of the crowd when I say, first of all, how proud we are of the strength that these mothers and the families have shown over this period of time, the resiliency that you have, and the courage you have to keep going and fighting for knowledge and justice in Zach's case and fighting for justice in Colton's case.
It has been 2 whole years since Zach Lefebvre's disappearance, and his mother Lorna is still no closer to knowing what happened to her baby. And when justice is served for Colton, I can maybe start to heal my broken heart. There's no healing for Lorna and her family. Her family has no place to go place flowers, no place to say goodbye, no place to talk to him. There's nowhere to go.
The 2 young men's birthdays are just 1 day apart. Zach's was on January 3rd and Colton's was on January 4th. After the speeches, a birthday cake was shared as people were thanked for their ongoing support of the families.
This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song.
This is Tina Camo reporting for SaltWire Network in Yarmouth.
It's time now for a glimpse of today's Thinking Out Loud with Sheldon McLeod. Today, Sheldon is speaking about the death of the 37-year-old woman in the hospital emergency department on New Year's Eve.
Gunter Hoff asked what he'd like to hear from you, and he wants to hear that there's something being done where if people are in a position where they go and they need help, that they're not waiting in an ambulance or waiting in an emergency department. He'd like that assurance. So what can you tell him through this process or through this platform?
So I do want to assure him, look, we are very, very upset and sorry for his loss. This is a devastating event. We do need to understand what happened, and we want to understand how to prevent it. And the recommendations will be important. We are committed to transforming healthcare. We know that the system requires significant investment and change, and we are committed to doing that. And I want to assure him that we are unwavering in that commitment, and we will continue to do whatever we can to make sure that emergency rooms and the healthcare system is responsive and ready for Nova Scotians.
I'm seeing a lot of people share these stories on social media, but to what end? It seems like the utter faith in the institutions is evolving. It's devolving, but below our feet.
Most governments, when they run on a platform, expect to be held accountable. The Premier has said that several times. In the end of the day, this stops with me. I will be held accountable. So let's hold him accountable. And, I think Nova Scotians have to speak with one voice and make sure that they are clear that we want a robust, efficient, operational, public, free healthcare system that all Nova Scotians can avail themselves of, and that we can avoid any future tragedies like this one.
And for Sheldon's full conversation, head to the opinion section of SaltWire.com. Time now for the Atlantic Sports Wire, presented by Scott Squires.
The Halifax Hawks Minor Hockey Association is having something special tonight. Rock the Rink. Their technical director, Tim Boyce, is here. Tim, what exactly is Rock the Rink?
Rock the Rink is, we're calling it our association builder night, where we're going to try and get as many of our teams under one roof to support some of our teams that are playing tonight. We've got 3 games back to back to back. And in conjunction with that, we're going to try and raise a little bit of money for our player assistant fund, which helps families play hockey that can't afford the costs.
Sometimes it's hard for families to admit that they need the help and to reach out and get it. What would you say to those families?
Yeah, you know what? Never, if there's a hand willing to help, reach out and take that help. I was one of those kids growing up that needed the assistance to play, and I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you right now if it wasn't for the Halifax Hawks and families that were willing to assist people. So,
tell us about the event tonight. When does it start, and how can people help?
We've got games at 6, 7, and 8. If you got a half an hour or you got an hour, pop down to the arena. Come on in. There's no entrance fee to get in. We're asking for donations if you'd like to give one, but not required.
That's the Centennial Arena, yes?
You got it. Yeah.
Tim, good luck with that tonight. It's a great initiative. We wish you all the best.
Thanks very much.
In Halifax, I'm Scott Squires for the Atlantic Sports Wire.
Thank you, Scott. On to weather now. To see what's coming up in the forecast, we're going to check in now with our weather specialist, Alistair Alders.
Thanks, Kate. Well, after finally a bit of winter-like weather over the weekend, including cooler temperatures yesterday, it was once again mild here in Halifax, and this is thanks to a developing storm system that will bypass us but impact eastern Newfoundland. However, the temperature roller coaster will be continuing over the coming week. This evening, it will be mainly cloudy. We will have a chance of showers or flurries, and overnight a risk of freezing drizzle. The temperature this evening will be near the freezing mark inland, but +3 along parts of the coast. And then throughout the day on Tuesday, steady near -1 inland, +1 along the coast. A mainly cloudy day. We'll have a chance of showers or flurries in the morning and a chance of flurries in the afternoon. We'll see winds out of the west-northwest and then over to the northwest, gusting 20 to 40 in the morning, 30 to 50 in the afternoon. We have brighter conditions that will arrive through Wednesday and continuing on Thursday, but then a Colorado low set to move through Friday through the upcoming weekend. That will bring temperatures that will be well above freezing, high single digits, maybe even a few low teens. So any snow initially on Friday set to change over to rain and persist through the upcoming weekend, along with gusty winds. Now, the precise timing and amounts with this will be nailed down throughout the week, and I'll continue to provide updates. Kate.
Thank you, Alistair. That's all for now. For more extended video and full online articles, stay tuned to SaltWire.com. And you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. I'm your host, Kate Walker. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.